What is going on, ProGuides family? My name is Renox, and today we are going to be looking at some of the most difficult situations in Valorant, and you guys are going to tell us what you think the correct play is. The format will be multiple choice, so don't worry about having to theory craft your own answer. But before we dive into the video, you guys know what time it is. It is time for our question of the day. Today's question isn't actually really a question. It's more of a request. For today, we want you guys to type out how many answers you think you're going to get right in this video, and then at the end of the video, you can either leave a reply to your comment or just edit it and let us know how many you actually got right. With that out of the way, let's dive into the first question. Alright guys, I know I said let's dive right in, but there's one last thing I need to mention, and that's if something is not mentioned in the question as I am going over the scenario, it probably isn't relevant to the question. So keep your ears open, as there may be small hints given in the form of little pieces of information. So, for our first scenario today, we are going to be heading straight on over to the B side of Bind. It is round 3 and you just lost the pistol and second round. You are playing Cypher with your teammate on site who is playing Sage, and you know the enemy team is a very skilled team. They have been doing proper executes, trading effectively, and are all around a very worthy opponent. On the pistol round, the enemy team went hard A, and on the second round, they executed an A split with the beginning of the round starting at A, and then they rotated to B mid towards the mid to late of the round. As you are setting up during the buy phase, what do you want to do? A, play aggressive towards mid. The enemy team has been rolling over you for the past 2 rounds, and you want to establish presence towards mid and force them off angles and make them panic or maybe even worry about aggression. You can use your spy cam or Cypher cyber cages to block off line of sight and tag enemies while falling back to the site if things get too hairy. B, play for info. The enemy team has been rolling over you for the past 2 rounds, and so you'd want to make sure that you don't give them a free kill. You set up a single trapwire and hookah to catch anyone pushing through while saving the rest of your utility for the potential B push. C, rotate to A. The enemies have been targeting A for the past few rounds, so rotate over there and force the enemies into a fight against a large number of defenders and to potentially lose their entry fragger or another player. D, play inside of hookah. As Cypher, you can hold hookah if you choose to with all of your utility. You can get early information on anyone pushing up and then just swing to get an early kill, or just tag enemies with your spy cam as they potentially walk into hookah. Feel free to pause the video and take some time to think about your answer. Pausing isn't cheating, we promise. Alright, you got your answer written down or in your head? Perfect. And the correct answer was B. Playing for information in this situation will help make sure you are not overextending for a kill, but also not making rotation for no reason. With all the tools that you have as Cypher, you can easily use all of your abilities to stall or initiate fights as you want to, so when you know the enemy team is going to be feeling pretty confident coming off 2 rounds pretty convincingly, you can lure them into a trap by only placing a single trapwire and hookah. No trapwires would have been suspicious, as the enemy team knows you, the Cypher, will probably be playing B site, and setting up both trapwires and hookah would have been A, a waste of utility, as the enemy team will destroy both of them anyways, and B, will slow down the enemy team enough that they might decide to just head back to A site and forget about pushing B because they spent too long in hookah and gave your team time to rotate to B site. Playing inside of hookah is an answer that can potentially work in a lot of lower elo games, but this is part of the reason we made sure to specify that this was a worthy opponent and a team that knows what they're doing. In a team that is this coordinated and communicating, even if you get 1 kill in hookah by yourself, you are going to immediately get traded by the enemy's teammates, and now you're pretty much in a 4v4 situation and you can't even activate any of your abilities, giving the enemy team essentially an easy way onto the site. Especially as Cypher, you do want to be playing relatively safe to make sure you stay alive long enough for your utility to be essential and long enough to actually activate it. For our second question today, we are going to be heading straight on over to Haven. It is a full buy round for you and your team. You have a Vandal or a Phantom, whichever you prefer, and you are playing Phoenix. You know that the enemy team is going to be on a force buy and they won't have fully upgraded weapons. Where should you sit and watch for this upcoming round? A, sit in Garage. As Phoenix, you have some abilities that you can use very quickly, like Curveball or Blaze, to help deal with any aggression. With your upgraded weapon, you should have the upper hand against anyone pushing through the double doors choke point. If things get sticky, you can always call on your C-Long player for help. B, cover B site. Using your flashes and Blaze, you can stall a mid push and force the enemies to waste time waiting for your blind to fade or your Blaze to fall. With the upgraded weapons, you will also have the advantage in longer and mid-range fights. C, stack up C-Long with your teammate. You plan to just shut down any C-Rush, and with your teammate by your side, even if one of you goes down, you can still trade for the kill. Against lower cost weapons, the long choke will be relatively easy to defend with a Vandal or a Phantom. D. Watching A long. The long line of sight will favor your upgraded weapon, and you can use your curveballs and hot hands to stall an enemy push so you can fall back or engage as needed. If you need help, you can always ask your short player for some assistance as well. Alright guys, you know what to do. Feel free to pause and take some more time to look at the options, but choose the one that you think is right. Alright, are you guys ready for the answer? The correct answer is D. Watching A long here is a pretty safe option, whereas all the other options will leave you exposed to dangerous angles like in Garage, or stacking up on a site when you don't need to be, like watching C long and sitting on B site. Most likely, you will have better agents on your team than Phoenix that can watch C long or sit on B site, so letting them take those angles will be better in the long run. But also, those are not great places to be as Phoenix against a 4-spy. When you are dealing with a 4-spy round, you have to expect shotguns, SMGs, and the like, with like pistols being thrown in there as well, so making sure that you don't get trapped in a bad spot is very, very important. An area like Garage is a great example of where you don't want to be against a 4-spy. With the ease that attackers can have in taking that area with just a flash or two, sitting in Garage when you know the enemy team will have shotguns and close range weapons is just asking for the enemy team's jet to feed more kills to her judge. For our third question today, we are going to be taking a look at a pistol round on Ascent. So it's the first round of the second half, and you are defending on Ascent. You are already up 8-4 from the first half, and you decide to get a classic with utility this round as Omen. You opt to go watch mid at the beginning of the round, and as the round starts out, you have pretty low contact towards mid, and not much is heard on either side of the map. Then an enemy Cypher cam gets placed right outside of B main. Do you A, do nothing and keep watching mid? The camera could have easily have been a bait by the enemy team's Cypher trying to get you or someone to rotate towards B to pull a player off of an angle. B, play aggressive towards mid. You are an Omen. You can always just teleport out of danger, but this might be a great chance to secure a few free kills. C, rotate towards B to help your teammates out. The enemy team is probably so frustrated from losing rounds that the Cypher cam was most likely an early warning that the enemy team is actually going to be heading towards the B site. D, slowly try to creep up mid. You think that the enemy team might just be staying in B main doing nothing, so if you sneak up mid, you might be able to get behind them without giving them any audio cues. Alright, you guys know the drill. Take 10 seconds to look over the answers and think about what you might think is correct, or just pause the video and take some extra time. Remember, these are here to help you guys out, so pause or rewind as needed. Okay, you guys ready for the answer? The correct answer was C. Playing mid on Ascent means you will have to be rotating quite a lot. When you rotate towards B here, you might lose that mid control, but as long as you don't rotate onto site and instead rotate just past the door next to garden and stay watching B main, you can always just run back to help mid if they rotate off of B main. Trying to push up mid will end up with you dead more often than not, so no matter how sneaky you try to be, and especially since your team already has the round advantage on the scoreboard, there's no need to be going for risky plays and potentially giving the other team a way back into the round. For our second to last question, we are going to be heading on over to Split to take a look at their A site. You are in a 2v4 clutch situation as Jet. You have 1 updraft and 2 cloudbursts left from the round. Your teammate is a Sage with no abilities up. You can assume that she won't have healing orb either for the rest of the round. The enemies have planted the spike on A with about 40 seconds left on the timer, and you and Sage are both coming up from ropes. What is the strategy both you and Sage can agree on is the best way to win the round? A, one of you stays in heaven to watch site while the other one creeps onto site from ramp. After the person ramp makes first contact, the heaven player peeks to hold angles and the two of you initiate crossfires. B, you and Sage stick together and push out ramp together. You try to make sure you help Sage with every kill and fall back when things get a little bit too sticky. C, one of you heads towards screens and the other one towards ramps. You both push at the same time, making a lot of noise to try and force the enemies to split their attention between the both of you. D, you both jump down from heaven to try and catch the enemies off guard and play to win aim duels. You focus on dealing with anyone inside of hell while you direct Sage to deal with anyone on site. Alright guys, you ready to hear the answer? The correct answer is A. The reason A works is because when you have someone watching from heaven like that, especially if they haven't been noticed yet, it will be at least 1 free kill onto whoever is focusing the ramp player, and then the rest of the enemy team will tunnel vision to heaven, allowing the player pushing onto site to potentially even get another free kill, and then you just turned it into a 2v2 from that surprise peek. Playing aggressive in a scenario like this will more often than not lead to you dying no matter how good you might be, and that's simply because it's hard to look at two places at once, and even with a second player, it will be difficult if you don't use the element of surprise. A pincer attack is another alright option, but the problem is that you are essentially creating two 1v2s that each player has to win in order to win the round. For our final question today, we are going to be taking a look at the attacking side. Your team is down 4-10 on bind. You are on offense and have a decision to make. Do you head towards A site, B site, or do some sort of split? Your opponents are very good players, so planning around how they react will be key. Do you A, rush A site? You get all of your team to run towards A and just try to shut down any semblance of the enemy team. You burn most of your utility getting onto site and getting the spike down. B, late A push. You set up 2 or 3 of your teammates towards A while the others head towards B long to try and clear out an angle, as well as to try and get some early info on the other side of the map. C, B split. Send 3 of your teammates up towards mid and 2 towards B long and coordinate utility to try and force the enemy players out into the open and take them down. Or D, play it slow. Don't set up for any site and instead just try to hold angles and see if you can catch the enemy team being aggressive. Then execute onto a site based on a pick if one was found, or wait until the time is running low and do a last second push. Alright guys, by now I think you know the drill. Take some time to think about what you think is the correct answer, and if you feel the need to rewind or pause, you know what to do. Are you guys ready for the correct answer? It was B. The magic in this play is that a delayed A push and the fact that you have a presence towards B. A lot of the time when a team is ahead, they like to play aggressive, and so peeking B long is a very common habit to teams that are ahead. Shutting that down and executing on the other site will definitely throw a wrench into your enemy's plans. Rushes tend not to work unless you are already confident that you can win aim duels, and since we are losing this game and are on the back foot already, that probably means that your team are slightly worse aimers than the enemy team, which can lead to a very demoralizing rush. Playing it slow is a good option, but the problem is that your opponents are smart and they know that you have to push into them as the attackers, and so they might get a little aggressive like peeking B long, but with no info, they're definitely not going to be overextending and giving you that free kill that you were looking for. Lastly, the B split is our next best option, but it still has its issues. As mentioned earlier, we are down 4-10, and that probably means that we have tried a standard B execute before, and it probably didn't go down too well, or we are just not confident enough in our default ability to head towards B. While the play could work, a late A push will give you better and more consistent results in this situation. Well everyone, that is all that we have for you today. If you liked the video, then be sure to leave a like, and if you're feeling extra zesty, maybe even consider subscribing. We upload new videos like this one every single day, so you don't want to miss a single one. Don't forget to leave a comment with how many questions you thought you were going to get right and how many you actually did get right. I can't wait to see how you guys did. Remember to stay safe out there, and I will see you all again very soon.